everyone, I'm here with a video about my favorite spooky decks. It is Halloween season, Samhain season. It's also fall, autumn here in the northern hemisphere, especially where I live in Canada. It is getting dark early. The leaves have fallen off the trees pretty much. There's a few left, but it's spooky season, so it's time to pull out the spooky decks. So I'm going to show you 5 of my favorite spooky decks. I would love to know what your favorite spooky decks are, what you like to look at. Are any of these on your wish list? Let me know. The first one, I mean, how could I not talk about this because we are in Halloween season, is the Halloween Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. So I love all the cute little pumpkins and bats and ghosts and things on here because I love creepy cute things. But this deck is not just cutesy. This deck I think really goes into some shadow things, and it goes beyond just the regular Halloween tropes. It also talks about, just changes of season and things. I really love working with this deck. Love the backs. The artwork is beautiful. We have themes like midnight, hearth. So definitely, it's not just all spooky ooky cards. Vampire. And it talks about things like emotional intelligence, how vampires, they're alluring. And certainly if someone is an energetic vampire, they certainly have to have an amount of emotional intelligence. We've got scrying. I love the artwork in this deck, but also just the meanings behind this deck. There's a lot of sort of skull imagery in here as well, but it goes beyond just Halloween. Like I said, it's about that change of season. It's about fall. There's some cards that touch on winter, touch on superstitions. So, I mean, you have to pull this card out at this time, or this deck out at this time of year. It's beautiful. It's got some animals in it. But also things like this, like joy, like frolicking in the leaves. So it's not just all shadow. It certainly has its light aspects as well. But I love using this in the month of October. It's certainly very seasonal, and I find it to be like a really nice accompaniment to the Halloween tarot that I use at this time of year. Now, the next spooky deck that I quite like is the Lay Vampire Oracle. This is by Jasmine Beckett-Griffith, and I believe Lucy Cavendish wrote the guidebook. They're a great team. This one's a great one as well for shadow work. I used this in September as my Oracle deck. So it really speaks to kind of like going within and looking at our shadow side. And I find that a lot of her decks do. I would also say a honorable mention to the Oracle of Shadow and Light as well as being really great sort of shadow work type decks, and especially with sort of these cutesy sort of big-eyed girl drawings. It definitely has this like inner child but also inner shadow kind of vibe to it. There's sort of this off-putting creepy cuteness about it. So this has themes like sacrifice. You have the last day in the light. So you can see she really draws on sort of art history to a certain extent, fairy tales, and looking at sort of those shadowy aspects of it. Because that's the thing, vampires are beautiful, but they also steal your soul, right? So it's definitely got some darker imagery. Like, it's beautiful, but it's also dark, it's also shadowy. So I really love working with this deck as well during the spooky season. Now, a new favorite that I just got this year is the Dark Wood Tarot. So the artwork is by Abigail Larson, who I quite like her artwork. And it's very feminine type tarot. There's not a lot of male figures in here. The book, I have to say, that comes with this is excellent. It really weaves this story of this witch's journey through the major arcana. It is a very good guidebook. They've got a little saying here. They talk about the card. And then they also talk about what the meaning is and then the shadow as well. So it's a very good guidebook if you're thinking of picking this up. The imagery here is, I love, it's got a lot of like olives and browns, and then it's got these pops of red or orange. And it's got sort of that very angular type of graphics. It makes me think a little bit of sort of Sleeping Beauty. And definitely some darker images in here. So it also has this dark fairy tale type vibe to it. And I think that really goes well with this time of year. It's also got a bit of her styles very much makes me think of like Edward Gorey, Tim Burton, that kind of style. So I quite see it's got these pops of red, sort of this scarlet blood red is sort of going on. A lot of bats in here as well if you're a fan of that kind of vibe. So if you love that kind of imagery, you'll probably really love this deck. Like I said, the guidebook's really well written if you're getting into tarot, or even if you just want to really connect with this deck. Now, another new favorite is I go on about this, the Gaia Tarot, which I do use more as an oracle deck, or Gaia, I never know how to pronounce that. It's one of those, when you've only ever read a word and you've never really heard anyone say it, you don't know how to pronounce it. What do you know? Beautiful, beautiful packaging, I have to say. And it's got the 72 demons from the Gaia. This book is also excellent. This deck is really great for working with the shadow. Now, I know this isn't for everybody, but I want people to understand, and the writer, I agree with his theories about how these are really about the monsters within us. This is about, our psychology. It's about turning to kind of the darker side of things. And that isn't always necessarily a bad. Dark doesn't mean evil. It means that we are looking at the things that are not in the light, the things that we've rejected, the things that we don't want to look at. And sometimes it's really important to look at those things. And it is just a beautiful deck. Just love these. Folklore. He helps sailors at sea. Actually, some of these are quite helpful. Some of these beings. And I love that it's black and silver, and it shows up as like sort of holographic on the camera, but when you look at it in real life, it's more just black and silver, but it shows up really cool on the camera too. It is a beautiful, gorgeous deck. I don't know if I'd read for others with it, but I know for me, it's beautiful to look at. It's so gorgeous. But also I love, it's got that real sort of dark beauty and mystery to it, and it really explores the shadow side of things. So it's a beautiful, gorgeous deck, and I love it. It was an investment for sure, but well worth it, I have to say. So that's that one. And then an old favorite that's very much like this is the Fallen Angels Oracle, which also contains the Fallen Angels from the Gaia. This is probably my favorite shadow work deck. I associate this deck with Pluto, and every time the moon goes into Scorpio, I pull a card from this. Actually, I have one on my altar right now. I have Furfur. I love that Furfur. Go. He's associated with the stag. He brings insight in storms and helps people to get along with each other. So evil, I know. But this deck is really wonderful. I think that the Fallen Angels were super well researched in this one. I'm not a huge fan of the art on this, but I think the guidebook is so well written, and it's a great way if you were thinking of getting into this. It's non-intimidating, and it really explains these beings in a way where it's like, oh, okay, like I can use this for shadow work. It doesn't necessarily, mean I'm calling on evil kind of thing. So it's beautiful. The other criticism I have with this is that it uses some of the same keywords, but if you look in the book, each card does mean different things. So I wouldn't be thrown off by the keywords. Italian, he's another one I like. Who else is here? It does have, I do like the use of graveyards in this, because it does give it kind of that mysterious quality. And it looks like, you know, it's got this overgrown graveyard feel to it. So it makes us think of things that have been long forgotten, which is often what happens when things are in shadow. We push them away, we neglect them, we try to forget about them. And so the unicorn, Amdusius. So yeah, it's a good deck. If you're looking at getting into, you know, Fallen Angels, I would highly recommend this deck. I believe it's being reprinted, and it's non-intimidating, and I just find the messages are always on point, really relevant, but also really loving as well. So don't be intimidated by you know, that it's Fallen Angels. I think this is a really wonderful deck. So those are my top 5 spooky decks, you know, that I'm working with for the Halloween season. Are any of these on your list? Let me know. I'm actually thinking of developing a shadow reading for the month of November, which I'll probably put up on my Etsy in a week or two. So let me know if you're interested in that at all. I think, you know, I will be using these cards, but I'll let you know. I'm going to develop it and kind of see how it goes. See what comes to me. Sometimes intuition, I get these downloads, right? They just sort of come to me. So we'll see what happens with that. But otherwise, I mean, if you want to join me on my Patreon, shout out to all my patrons. You guys are awesome and the best. I do weekly astrology readings that show what's coming up for the week. I also do weekly tarot scopes to show how it's going to affect your sign in particular, and daily draws. And I also have options for people to have monthly private readings as well. So you can check that out over there if you're interested. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Big shout out to my patrons, Nathan, Nicole, and Marie. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, all of you, for your support. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you, you know, for just checking this out. You guys are great. I hope you're all safe and well and doing okay in these crazy times. You guys are the best. As always, peace and love and rock.